entitled, "We Shall Call Him President Obama." And it lists not only his transgressions, but his fellow Democrats, in calling us terrorists with bombs strapped to our chests and the like. And we chronicled it. And that's where Resident Obama came from. Actually, the full title is Resident Obama, Occupier of the Oval Office, as a tip of the cap to his AstroTurf movement known as the Occupy Wall Street folks. So that's where that came from. So Mr. Obama, when he first got into office, I was here in Dallas, Fort Worth, in a newsroom that was pretty much mixed. I was at CBS 11 and TXA 21. Very dear friends of mine to this day. Black, African Americans. And they were crying upon his election. You would have to have been brain dead not to have felt what his election, just because of the color of his skin, meant to them. And it was an impactful moment. I'll never forget it. And I found, and this is probably why I take him so personally, is because even though I knew he was a Democrat and I wouldn't support him, and I had no idea what was ahead, I dared for about a month to believe in him. And when you are a believer and you are betrayed, and he has done nothing but betray me ever since. Today he did it again. I said, there's no way he's coming to Dallas, where 5 dead police officers murdered by a man who wanted to kill white people, said he wanted to kill white people, and said he wanted to shoot white police officers, those who dedicate their lives to the civilized society, keeping the civilized society together. There's no way. There's no room for him to find politics. By God, if he didn't find a way. And he used the words of someone who has been conducting, I think he's a Democrat, but he's conducted himself very well. The chief of police in Dallas used his own words to say, I don't think that's what the chief was talking about when he was saying his words, that society's asking too much of cops. He's right. Society isn't. Because of politicians' failures, both parties, because of politicians' failures, we're asking way too much of our police officers. Well, Mr. Obama found a way to parlay that into an excuse to launch into left-wing lunacy. And so I'm going to give you all a preview of tomorrow's show. Soundbite, I did a lot of my show prep knowing what was coming up here today. I did it before I got up here because I knew I got an hour and a half drive that way. And I mean, by the way, yeah, the show in Houston is AM 700 KSEV, owned by our Lieutenant Governor. That's the radio station there. And he was a host there, and then he ended up buying the joint, and then he got other things to do. Thank God. He got other things to do. The most conservative Senate we've had in a long time here in the state of Texas, which we're going to need. And also his good work as Lieutenant Governor. So here is the occupier of the Oval Office today, President Obama, speaking. And hopefully you guys will be able to hear this. My iPhone will be hopefully loud enough, and have a listen.
We also know what Chief Brown has said is true. That so much of the tensions between police departments and minority communities that they serve is because we ask the police to do too much, and we ask too little of ourselves.
Now, a lot of goodwill right there, right? Agreeing with the chief. Okay, fine. And this one, I was like, oh man, he's got to be almost done. He's not going to be able to find any left-wing craziness to put in here. And then he started with a spin. And about the applause line. See how long this sustained applause right there? He had everybody. President Bush was clapping. Everybody was clapping. Everybody thought, okay, if he had just left it there, he'd have been fine. But he didn't.
we choose to underinvest in decent schools.
As a society, we choose to underinvest in decent schools. Do you believe him? 2013, CBS, my lie. To score political points. And you hear it, all the people in their thunderous applause for a lie. It is how he got reelected after all. You know, like your doctor, keep your doctor. Al-Qaeda's on the run, on the path to defeat.
We allow poverty to fester so that entire neighborhoods offer no prospect for gainful employment.
He blames that on government. He thinks that government creates employment. God bless it. To borrow from Ann Richards, bless his little. Yeah. A fundamental misunderstanding of what our republic is all about. About free enterprise, about free markets, about free people. A complete misunderstanding of who creates wealth and who creates jobs. It ain't government. The best mechanism for that to happen the government can do is get out of the way of we, the people.
We refuse to fund drug treatment and mental health programs.
We refuse to fund drug treatment and mental health programs through government because government screws everything up. Would you like to fund these issues through the same people that run Amtrak, or that run the Internal Revenue Service, or the Bureau of Land Management? I can't fathom these people after 8 years of failed, bloated, bureaucratic government. Can anybody point to a success story from this federal government? I can't. I can't think of one.
They're pretty effective with the IRS.
You're pretty effective at what?
And that's getting the money.
Yeah, they're pretty good at stifling speech at the IRS, but I don't think it's their mandate.
We flood communities with so many guns that it is easier for a teenager to buy a Glock than get his hands on a computer or even a book.
How many of you folks ever bought a gun? How many of you teenagers have ever bought a gun in here? Yeah, that's right. How many teenagers you know can walk up to a store and get their hands on a gun legally? Any teenager getting their hands on a gun is happening illegally, and whose fault is that? Barack Obama's government. How do you expect to keep illegal guns off our streets when you have our borders wide open, sir? That's what I love about these liberals. Matt Damon, you guys know Matt Damon, the actor, came out and wanted to put out a call for gun confiscation, to which I said, what? Funny little liberal. I could almost go for that if you could assure that every gun on the planet would be destroyed. And I said to Mr. Damon, on the radio show, because I don't think he listens. You guys can't stop, your government can't stop illegal immigrant children from streaming across that border by the thousands. You can't stop illegal narcotics from streaming across that border by the ton. What makes you think you're going to stop illegal guns? So when you pass a law that takes away all of our guns or confiscates guns, all you're going to do is disarm the law-abiding, and the criminal element will be fully armed. There's a great experiment in this in our neighbor to the south right now in Mexico, where the drug cartels, they're armed to the teeth. Definition of illegal guns, the cartels. And the government has all the guns down in Mexico, and the people are being slaughtered like cattle. You want a real-world example of where Barack Obama and Democrats lead? Take a look south of the border. Or Chicago. Or Washington, D.C.
The hardest city in the country to buy a gun is Chicago.
Or California. So, a preview of one of the sound bites we'll have tomorrow on the Chris Salcedo show just for y'all. You guys are the first ones to hear it. Well, unless you were watching this today, you're the first ones to hear my analysis on that. So, we're coming up on an election. You know, when I was driving up here, I saw, and I noticed it, how many of you Trumpsters in here?
Yes.
How many of you are, as the bumper sticker said, large meteor 2016? This is our society's way of saying, I don't like any of my choices. I've spoken in groups where folks are befuddled by my support of Donald Trump and how I can. Yeah, and you know what? If this were 8 years ago, I probably would have been with those Never Trumpsters saying, lesser of two evils, I'm tired of that. But we have just endured 8 years of the most extremist left-wing occupation of the Oval Office, and I believe not only in my lifetime, but in this country's history.
Wilson was pretty heavy.
Well, for his day, but compared to what we're seeing today, look, like I said, I never thought that I would see in my lifetime the degradation of that office by anybody. Somebody who believed that it was his office to redefine. It never occurred to him once that it was never his to redefine. That office belongs to us. And he's under the mistaken impression that it belongs to him and his political party. And he's dead wrong. It's why he lights up the White House in rainbow colors when the Supreme Court imposes same-sex marriage on this country against the will of the people. And why it stayed white. Our governor's mansion was blue after 5 police officers were gunned down in the streets of Dallas. But Mr. Obama couldn't find his way clear to light up the White House blue in solidarity with the nation's law enforcement. It shows the level of individual we're dealing with, the caliber of individual we're dealing with. A man who does not revere the Constitution, a man who does not revere our institutions, and his political party has followed suit. You guys remember time was we'd be able to elect a Democrat and at least know that some of the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted? That they would protect the country at the very least. FDR could have been counted on to at least protect the country and won World War II for crying out loud. But not anymore. Not this Democrat Party. This Democrat Party is committed to something altogether different, something that is anti-American, something that wants to bring this country down to the level of third world dictatorships and despots. And I can't understand it. I can't fathom it. You know, at this point in my career, I'm done trying. I just know I oppose it. And no other example can I think of than what we just witnessed in the streets of Dallas last week. If you want to understand what our society looks like if Democrats continue to win the day, there you go. For all of the Never Trumpsters out there, I said, look, you want an example? Look, Trump, I will roll the dice on Donald Trump because he's never held elected office before. He's never passed a law against me before. He's never made a vote against me before. He's gambled with money and it's been his own, not mine, the way Democrats have. So I will be glad to roll on the unknown that is Donald Trump than go with the certainty of Hillary Clinton in the state as she is and how she will use this government to pad her pockets as her family has done for the last 25, 30 years. And he will use the safety of your children and my children to do it. So that made up my mind. And there are principled conservatives out there, folks, who are not our ideological adversaries, who are Never Trumpsters. They'll always get respect in the show because I understand where they are. Because I was there when Mitt Romney was running for president. I was there when John McCain was running for president. I can't be there today because my eyes have been wide open these last 8 years into what we've endured.